according to Article 551.76. D. No connection to grounding electrode shall be made to the neutral conductor on the load side of the service disconnecting means or transformer distribution panel board. The grounding conductor that runs with the feeders must be terminated on a separate ground bar installed in each 200 amp main disconnect. This ground bar is connected to a grounding electrode and not to the neutral bus. The purpose of Article 551.76 here is to keep current from flowing on the neutral conductor during normal operation. The neutral conductor isn't made to handle large amounts of current. If current does flow on the neutral conductor, it can overheat and become a fire risk. By using a separate ground bar for the grounding conductor, you make sure that current only flows through the grounding conductor when there's a fault. The ground bar is linked to the grounding electrode, creating a low resistance path to ground. To properly terminate the grounding conductor, it should be connected to a grounding electrode and a ground bar. The ground bar is then connected to the neutral bus. This setup ensures that current only flows through the grounding conductor when a fault occurs. Understanding this, let's delve into the specific components and their roles within the grounding system. Firstly, the grounding electrode system plays a crucial role. This system typically consists of one or more grounding electrodes that are physically connected to the earth. Common types of grounding electrodes include ground rods, ground plates, and metal underground water pipes that meet specific requirements. The primary function of the grounding electrode system is to provide a lower impedance path for fault current to return to the source. This low impedance path facilitates the quick operation of overcurrent protective devices, such as circuit breakers or fuses, thereby minimizing the duration and severity of electrical faults. Secondly, the equipment grounding conductor serves as a vital safety component. This conductor provides a conductive path between non-current carrying metal parts of equipment and the grounding electrode system. These metal parts can include enclosures, raceways, and other conductive components that are not intended to carry current under normal operating conditions. The equipment grounding conductor ensures that if a fault occurs and these metal parts become energized, a low impedance path is available for the fault current to flow back to the source. This low impedance path allows the overcurrent protective devices to quickly detect the fault and disconnect the power supply, reducing the risk of electric shock. Thirdly, the ground bar, as mentioned, is a crucial element for terminating grounding conductors. The ground bar serves as a central connection point for multiple grounding conductors, providing a convenient and organized way to connect them to the grounding electrode system. Ground bars are typically made of copper or aluminum and are designed to provide a low resistance connection. By terminating grounding conductors on a ground bar, you ensure that a reliable and effective path is available for fault current to flow back to the source. Now let's address the importance of preventing current flow on the neutral conductor under normal operating conditions. The neutral conductor is designed to carry the unbalanced current between the phases of a three-phase system or the return current in a single-phase system. However, the neutral conductor is not intended to carry significant fault current. If fault current flows on the neutral conductor, it can lead to several problems. One potential problem is overheating of the neutral conductor. Fault current can be significantly higher than the normal operating current, and if the neutral conductor is not properly sized to handle this additional current, it can overheat. Overheating can damage the insulation of the neutral conductor and potentially cause a fire. Another problem is the creation of voltage drops. When fault current flows through the neutral conductor, it can cause voltage drops along the conductor. These voltage drops can affect the performance of other electrical equipment connected to the same circuit, causing them to malfunction or operate inefficiently. Additionally, fault current flowing on the neutral conductor can interfere with sensitive electronic equipment. The electromagnetic fields generated by the fault current can induce noise and interference in nearby electronic devices, potentially causing them to malfunction or provide inaccurate readings. To prevent these problems, it is essential to isolate the grounding conductor from the neutral conductor. By terminating the grounding conductor on a separate ground bar, you ensure that fault current only flows through the grounding conductor and the grounding electrode system. This prevents fault current from flowing on the neutral conductor and minimizes the risk of overheating, voltage drops, and interference with sensitive electronic equipment. In summary, Article 551.76 D mandates the use of a separate ground bar for terminating grounding conductors to prevent current flow on the neutral conductor under normal operating conditions. This practice ensures electrical safety and protects equipment from potential damage. The grounding electrode system, equipment grounding conductor, and ground bar all work together to provide a safe and effective grounding system. Proper installation and maintenance of these components are crucial for ensuring the continued safety and reliability of the electrical system. Now, let's consider the practical implications of implementing this grounding configuration in an RV park setting. In an RV park, multiple RV pedestals are typically connected to a common electrical service. Each RV pedestal provides electrical power to individual recreational vehicles. To ensure the safety of the occupants and equipment in the RV park, it is essential to properly ground each RV pedestal. According to the National Electrical Code or NEC, each RV pedestal must be equipped with a grounding electrode system and an equipment grounding conductor. The grounding electrode system typically consists of a ground rod driven into the earth near the RV pedestal. The equipment grounding conductor connects the non-current carrying metal parts of the RV pedestal to the grounding electrode system. In addition to the grounding electrode system and equipment grounding conductor, it is also necessary to provide a separate ground bar in each 200 amp main disconnect that serves a group of RV pedestals. This ground bar serves as the termination point for the grounding conductors that run with the feeders supplying power to the RV pedestals. By terminating the grounding conductors on a separate ground bar, you ensure that fault current only flows through the grounding conductors and the grounding electrode system, preventing fault current from flowing on the neutral conductor. This is particularly important in an RV park setting because the neutral conductor may be carrying unbalanced current from multiple RV. If fault current were to flow on the neutral conductor, it could lead to overheating, voltage drops, and interference with sensitive electronic equipment in the RV. To properly install the separate ground bar in the 200 amp main disconnect, you will need to follow these steps. Firstly, disconnect the power supply to the 200 amp main disconnect. This is essential to ensure your safety during the installation process. Secondly, locate a suitable location within the 200 amp main disconnect to mount the ground bar. The ground bar should be mounted securely to the enclosure and should be electrically isolated from the neutral bus. Thirdly, connect the grounding conductors from the feeders supplying power to the RV pedestals to the ground bar. Ensure that all connections are tight and secure. Fourthly, connect the ground bar to the grounding electrode system. This can be done by running a grounding electrode conductor from the ground bar to a ground rod or other grounding electrode. Fifthly, verify the continuity of the grounding system. Use a multimeter to measure the resistance between the ground bar and the grounding electrode. The resistance should be as low as possible, ideally less than 1 ohm. Finally, reconnect the power supply to the 200 amp main disconnect. Once you have completed these steps, you can be confident that the grounding system in your RV park is properly installed and will provide adequate protection against electrical faults. In addition to following the NEC requirements for grounding RV pedestals, it is also important to implement a regular maintenance program. This program should include periodic inspections of the grounding system to ensure that all connections are tight and secure and that the grounding electrode system is in good condition. You should also test the continuity of the grounding system on a regular basis to ensure that it is still providing a low impedance path for fault current. By implementing a comprehensive grounding system and maintenance program, you can significantly reduce the risk of electrical hazards in your RV park and ensure the safety of your occupants and equipment. Now, let's consider some additional details regarding the selection and installation of grounding electrodes. The NEC specifies several types of grounding electrodes that are permitted for use in electrical systems. These include firstly ground rods, which are typically made of copper or copper-clad steel and are driven into the earth. Secondly, ground plates, which are flat metal plates that are buried in the earth. Thirdly, metal underground water pipes, which can be used as grounding electrodes if they meet certain requirements. Fourthly, concrete encased electrodes, which are grounding electrodes that are encased in concrete. When selecting a grounding electrode, it is important to consider the soil conditions at the site. The soil resistivity can significantly affect the performance of the grounding electrode. In areas with high soil resistivity, it may be necessary to use multiple grounding electrodes or to use a chemical treatment to reduce the soil resistivity. The NEC also specifies the minimum size and length of grounding electrodes. For example, ground rods must be at least 8 feet long and must have a diameter of at least 5/8 inch. Ground plates must have a surface area of at least 2 square feet. When installing grounding electrodes, it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions and to ensure that the electrodes are properly installed. Ground rods should be driven into the earth vertically and should be spaced at least 6 feet apart. Ground plates should be buried at least 30 inches below the surface of the earth. Metal underground water pipes must be electrically continuous and must be connected to the grounding electrode system within 5 feet of the point where they enter the building. Concrete encased electrodes must be encased in at least 2 inches of concrete and must be located within the bottom 5 feet of the concrete foundation. In addition to selecting and installing the grounding electrodes properly, it is also important to ensure that the grounding electrode conductor is properly sized and installed. The grounding electrode conductor connects the grounding electrode to the ground bar in the electrical panel. The NEC specifies the minimum size of the grounding electrode conductor based on the size of the service entrance conductors. The grounding electrode conductor must be made of copper or aluminum and must be protected from physical damage. When installing the grounding electrode conductor, it is important to avoid sharp bends and to ensure that the conductor is securely connected to both the grounding electrode and the ground bar. Now, let's discuss the importance of proper bonding in an RV park electrical system. Bonding is the process of connecting all non-current carrying metal parts of the electrical system together to create a low impedance path for fault current. Proper bonding is essential for ensuring the safety of the electrical system and for preventing electric shock hazards. In an RV park, bonding is required for all metal parts of the RV pedestals, including the enclosures, raceways, and equipment grounding conductors. Bonding is also required for all metal parts of the electrical distribution system, including the electrical panels, transformers, and grounding electrodes. The NEC specifies the methods and materials that are permitted for bonding electrical equipment. Common bonding methods include using bonding jumpers, bonding screws, and bonding bushings. Bonding jumpers are short lengths of wire that are used to connect metal parts together. Bonding screws are special screws that are designed to provide a low impedance connection between metal parts. Bonding bushings are used to connect metal conduit to electrical enclosures. When bonding electrical equipment, it is important to ensure that all connections are tight and secure and that the bonding conductors are properly sized. Bonding conductors must be made of copper or aluminum and must be protected from physical damage. In addition to bonding the metal parts of the electrical system, it is also important to bond the metal parts of the RV to the RV pedestal. This can be done by using a bonding wire that connects the RV chassis to the equipment grounding conductor in the RV pedestal. By bonding the RV to the RV pedestal, you ensure that if a fault occurs in the RV, the fault current will flow back to the source through the grounding system, tripping the circuit breaker and preventing electric shock hazards. Now, let's address some common misconceptions about grounding and bonding. One common misconception is that grounding and bonding are the same thing. Grounding and bonding are related, but they are not the same. Grounding is the process of connecting the electrical system to the earth. Bonding is the process of connecting all non-current carrying metal parts of the electrical system together. Another common misconception is that grounding is only necessary for safety. Grounding is important for safety, but it is also important for proper operation of the electrical system. Grounding helps to stabilize the voltage of the electrical system and to reduce noise and interference. Another common misconception is that a ground rod is all that is needed for proper grounding. A ground rod is an important part of the grounding system, but it is not the only part. The grounding system also includes the grounding electrode conductor, the ground bar, and the equipment grounding conductors. Another common misconception is that it is okay to use the neutral conductor as a grounding conductor. The neutral conductor should never be used as a grounding conductor. The neutral conductor is designed to carry current under normal operating conditions, while the grounding conductor is only designed to carry current during a fault. Using the neutral conductor as a grounding conductor can create a dangerous situation and can lead to electric shock hazards. In conclusion, proper grounding and bonding are essential for ensuring the safety and reliability of an RV park electrical system. By following the NEC requirements for grounding and bonding, and by implementing a regular maintenance program, you can significantly reduce the risk of electrical hazards and protect the occupants and equipment in your RV park.